The Plano ISD portfolio includes the K-1 and 2 student portfolios, as well as the Plano literacy data for grade levels K through 5. To access the portfolios, go to Edugence at pisd.edugence.com or use the web desk link. From here, you have a couple of options depending on your level of access to Edugence. On the left-hand menu, you may have an option here that says Elementary Portfolio. If you do, that's your shortcut link. Click that and go right to the portfolio. If not, up here on the top right, click on the Apps icon and then select Reports. Scroll down in the center of the page until you get to the Portfolio section. There's only one option here, so simply click on Portfolio. From here, your campus and your teacher name should auto-populate for you. The next three boxes, year, enrolled grade, and test grade, what you put here depends on what you are looking for in your data. If I'm in the 2021-2022 school year and I want to enter data for my currently enrolled students, then I need to make sure the year says 2022. Edugence names the school year for the second half of the year, the second semester. So for 21-22, the entire year from August to June, the year needs to say 2022. For 22-23, the entire year from August to June, it needs to say 2023. Your enrolled grade is the grade your students are currently enrolled in, and the test grade will match. The enrolled grade and the test grade will match when you're looking for the students who are currently rostered to you. And then you can click on the green box to populate their data. Now you also have access to see the data for your currently enrolled students from last year. If you want to see the data for your currently enrolled students and what they got on their portfolio last year, you need to change the year back 1 year. So if I'm currently looking at the 2022 school year, I need to go back a year to 2021. Enrolled grade needs to stay the same because these students are still enrolled in second grade. But test grade also needs to go back a year because I want to see their data from when they were in first grade. And likely I want to change the admin date because I probably want to see where they were at the end of the year rather than the beginning of the year. And then click on the green box to populate the report. This allows you to be able to go back and see where your students ended last year so that you can continue on from there. Also notice at the top under language, you have the option of selecting an English portfolio or a dual language portfolio. Depending on if your students are being tested in English or if in your bilingual classroom your students are being tested in Spanish, this will be your selection in the language section of the portfolio. So now I want to enter my beginning of the year portfolio data for my students. First, you need to make sure that the year is correct. Everything for the entire school year from August to June goes with the second half of the school year, second semester. You must enter the data in the correct year. There is no way for us to move the data if you've put it in the wrong place. Make sure enrolled grade and test grade match. Make sure your administration date is correct, beginning of year, middle of year, or end of the year. And choose the language that the student was tested in, either English or in a dual language classroom. In bilingual, you will choose dual language. And then press the green button in order to enter the data. You'll notice at the top that it defaults to literacy. Teachers in 3, 4, and 5 will only have this option of a literacy tab. Teachers in K1 and 2 will also have mathematics, science, social studies, and citizenship, as well as PE, art, and music. If I go back to this literacy tab, You'll see to be able to enter the data for my students, I need to click on the orange pencil icon to enter their data. MAP scores will auto-populate where it says MAP Measures of Academic Progress. If for some reason this MAP score is not correct, you need to click on the blue refresh button to refresh the MAP score, and then make sure that you click Save at the top of the page. The MAP scores will not automatically refresh if you have already entered data at a certain season of the year, so it's likely that you will need to use that blue refresh button. You will notice that elementary teaching and learning has included all of the essential standards, as well as some foundational standards to show growth towards proficiency for your students. These are the standards that you'll be rating your students on throughout the year. Use your TEKS frequency chart to see which of these standards are taught in one unit as opposed to multiple units. That way you know when you're going to need to rate your students on each of these particular standards. In each of the drop-down menus, you have the same options. If it is a standard you have not yet taught, then you will choose that particular option. If you have taught the standard and given the student ample opportunity to learn this particular standard and they've not made very much progress, then you would choose no or minimal progress. If you've taught this standard and given the student opportunities to learn and they've made good progress, then you can click on adequate progress. Mastery is for when the student has mastered that particular standard. If it is a standard that spirals throughout the year, you may not be selecting mastery until the very end of the year when they've had throughout the year in order to master that particular item. In the reading record section, you have an option for level, and you'll choose what level the student read at. Notice that accuracy and comprehension are both in percentages. So the accuracy is the percent correct. The comprehension is also percent correct. These fields do not accept decimal points. So you will need to take the comprehension score that you get from your reading record and turn that into a percentage to make that fit into this particular box. You also have a space here for fluency as well. Once you've entered the data at the top, scroll down to the bottom and you'll notice that there's a section for comments. There's a place for PE, art, and music teachers to enter their comments, as well as a spot for classroom teachers to enter their comments. These comments will appear on the PDF copy that you will send home with parents. Once you've entered all of this data, you'll want to save it at the top of the page. And then a quick way to move on to the next student is just to click on the next arrow on the far right. This moves you from one student to the next, so you can quickly move through all of the students that are rostered to you. Once you've entered the data for reading, for literacy, then you can enter the data for other subjects. So close this window. Up here at the top, you'll select the next subject, and then you'll repeat the same process, choosing the icon, and then entering the data for the next student. Again, saving the data, and then moving on to the next student. Note that there is a place for PE, art, and music teachers to enter their data. Depending on your campus conversations, those PE, art, and music teachers may be entering their own data. They may be giving that to classroom teachers to enter it. It just depends on the conversations you're having on your campus. But PE, art, and music teachers do have access to Edugence to be able to enter all of that data. In order to make it easier for you to enter your data each season, the beginning of year data in the portfolio rolls over automatically into middle of the year, and middle of the year automatically rolls over to end of the year. So for students who have demonstrated mastery of a concept, you do not need to re-enter their data. You only need to update the information that is different at middle of the year and end of the year. There is a note at the top of your screen that will remind you that data has been copied over from a previous administration.
When the data rolls over, it will be in an orange font as you see here. This means that the data is rollover data. It's not official. It is simply rolled over from a previous season. Even though the data rolls over, you must review the data in each cell, update the information, and importantly, save the portfolio at every season. If you don't save the portfolio at middle of the year and end of the year, the system sees the portfolio as empty because the data that is there was not reviewed and not saved in this season. Once you've gone in and reviewed the data and saved the portfolio, you'll notice that the font turns black. That is how you will know that your middle of the year and end of the year data is for the current season and not simply rollover data. For administrators, if you are checking to make sure that your campus has entered all the data in the portfolio, look to see that all student names and all data is in black rather than in orange. Orange indicates rollover data.
To be able to print a student's portfolio, you have a couple of options. When you're in the editing screen, you can print the student portfolio by clicking the print icon at the top right of the page. Or if you would like to print several portfolios at once, you can select all of the students by clicking on the checkboxes next to their names on the data summary page, and then click on print in the top right. From here, you will choose if you want the portfolio to be printed in English or Spanish. Now, this depends on the language spoken by the parents. This has nothing to do with how the student was tested. This is about the language that the parent is most comfortable with. So if it is a student who was tested completely in English, you can still print the portfolio in Spanish so that those parents will be able to understand the portfolio better. You'll make your selection, and then you'll notice that the portfolio will become a PDF in the bottom corner of your page. And from here, you can print it however you need to in order to share that with parents. You also have the option in the top right to print MTSS letters if necessary. Now, you may not need these for every student, so again, you can select which students need a letter and which ones do not, and then click on the parent letter in the top right. Again, this will produce a PDF letter that you can fill out for a particular student. You'll see student names at the top. You'll check the boxes as necessary, sign and date it, and then this will be the RTI or MTSS letter for any students that are identified Tier 2 or Tier 3. These can be saved as a PDF on your computer, and these can be printed in order to be signed by parents.